Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tea Talks with Tawawn. I want to thank you for coming on in and joining me every Monday for Tea Talks, where we believe everybody needs a little TLC. You know what I'm talking about. Yes, some tender love and care, but most importantly, that transformational lifestyle content that helps you with becoming your best self and creating your best life. Now, before we get started, I want to say if this is your first time at Tea Talks, we kind of have a routine of what you should do when you come in. So I'm going to tell you now that first, I'm going to say welcome, 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 and thank you for joining us at Tea Talks. We're going to be spilling the tea on personal development topics that help us with becoming our best selves and creating our best lives. I'm going to ask you to get into a seat, get real cozy, grab your ink pen and your journal or a pad, because yes, I'm going to be spilling some tea that you want to take some notes on and that you can go back and reflect on. And I always give you something that you can do immediately to help you with whatever topic that I'm talking about. So, if this is your first time to Tea Talks, again, welcome. If you just happen to come across this, what I'm going to ask that you do is that you follow me. I'm going to ask that you hit that little bell and subscribe so when you'll know when I'm coming on. We come on every Monday at 8 p.m. Sometimes we skip, but for the most part, we're here every Monday at 8 p.m. So hit that little button to subscribe. You can follow me in other places. We're on Facebook as T Tawawn Low, as you can see my name, or you can find me under my business, Tawawn L Consultancy. I would like to have you join me on all of my platforms. Again, I want you to go ahead and hit that bell so you don't miss any of the episodes that I will be bringing forth. And today I want to talk about a topic that a lot of people have heard this stated before, and some people think that's important, and some people don't think it's important, but it really is. Now, are you sitting back? Are you comfortable? Do you have your journal and your pen? Because today we're going to talk about the power of permission. The power of permission. And why permission, self permission. Let's talk about that. The power of self permission and why it is critical to our happiness, to our total well being, to our success, that we learn to use the power of self permission. And I know you're probably thinking, why is self permission so important? And I'm going to talk all about that. But what is self permission? Self permission is really the answer that we give to ourselves, is giving ourselves consent and authority to do certain things. Like, believe it or not, you probably wouldn't think so, but some people have to give themselves permission just to be who they are, to show up as their true, authentic selves. And this is where a lot of people do struggle, and this is where a lot of people really do have to give themselves permission. Because see, and if you really just think about permission, we grew up as kids and we were always asking permission to go outside, to permission to hang with our friends. We were always constantly asking for permission to do something, permission to drive our parents' car, permission to wear makeup, permission to get your hair cut. Whatever it was, we needed someone to give us consent to the things that we wanted to do. And to some degree, that was good because at that age, in being an adolescent or a child, you need someone to give you authority to do something, but to do certain things. However, when you get used to asking for consent or permission, sometimes as you get older as an adult, you forget that you hold the power within yourself to ask for permission. I mean, or to give yourself permission. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you the consent to be and to do. However, there are plenty of people, as a certified life coach, I meet all kinds. I do free consultations with people. And there, I am amazed by how many people are struggling with truly just showing up as their true, authentic selves. And they're struggling with being their authentic selves for many reasons. First, they don't believe they can. They're waiting for somebody to tell them that it's okay. And I have to generally work with them and ask certain questions and get to the root of why do you believe you need somebody's permission to show up as yourself? Why do you need someone to say that it's okay to be your true, authentic selves? But people do find themselves in that situation. And if you are one of those persons, or if you know somebody, let me tell you, you do not need permission, but sometimes you do have to grant yourself permission. And if you truly want to have a fulfilled life, if you truly want to show up as your true authentic self, if you truly want to be happy, if you are really um, striving to be successful and to just be the best version of yourself and create the best life that you can have for yourself, guess where that starts? You first have to give yourself permission. You have to say that it is okay to be happy. It's okay to show up as your true authentic self. You don't have to worry about who's going to like you, who's going to like who you really are. If you are comfortable in your own skin, if you are self aware and you know you like who you are, you embrace that and you show up as your true, authentic self and give yourself permission to show up as your true, authentic self. We need to give ourselves permission. We need to be willing. And it's amazing how sometimes we have to give ourselves permission for even the smallest things. Listen to what I'm saying. Just to relax. If you one of them people, because I'm one of them, go, 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 always on the move, always got something going on, always doing something. And I can feel my body. My body is telling me, okay, you keep going and going like you're the Energizer Bunny, but the Energizer Bunny has a battery that would allow it to keep going and going and going. You don't have that type of battery. The battery that you have requires you to rest, it requires you to sleep, and it requires you to restore yourself. And sometimes I have to tell myself, go sit down. I have to give myself permission because I will keep going and then going and keep thinking that if I keep going, I can get it done. I can get it done because I'm so busy trying to achieve one thing, forgetting and negating something else that is required and need in my life, like rest. So sometimes I have to give myself permission to rest, not just to sit down, but permission to take the weekend off and it's going to be okay. The clients will wait. The business will wait. The tea products that need to get out will wait. Coming up with a new topic for Tea Talks will wait. It will all be there after I do what's necessary and what is good for me and my well-being. And sometimes in giving that permission, and I'm going to use rest as a um example here. Because even in giving myself rest, I even have to give myself permission to turn the phone off and disconnect. Because sometimes when we need rest, we also need to disconnect. Now, I just want to take a moment to share a story with you. On last Friday, I got a call from one of my executive clients, and she was telling me about a test that she took, and it was talking about her stress level and how her stress levels were so high and how she was working talking with other people, other executives and different things, and just talking about the demands of being an executive, the demands on their time and their energy, what it takes away, what they have to sacrifice. And what she was finding out is that she was sacrificing her health. So we were working on her being mindful. And I was giving her examples of ways that she could be more mindful and be in the moment. And she came back and she said, I'm having a hard time with being mindful. I just cannot center my mind. And I said, hmm, give yourself permission to be mindful. And she was like, I never heard that before. I said, give yourself permission to be mindful because part of being mindful was going to contribute to her rest that she needs and how she's going to start being how she's going to release some of her stress. Part of her plan that is in place that we're doing is she's going to use mindfulness as a part of her stress reliever because sometimes just being in the moment and in the presence allows you to just step back, take a few breaths, enjoy the present time that you're in, not be focused on what needs to be cooked for dinner, what memo you need to sign, what's the next meeting you need to get to, who did you not call back, what projects have deadlines coming up. It just gives you the moment to just sit and just be in the presence and to savor whatever experience you have. And so what I told her to do was to enjoy a cup of tea. Take 5 to 10 minutes to be mindful about the whole experience about drinking tea that will allow her to relax and be mindful. But because her mind was all over the place and she just didn't think she had time for it, I said, well, why don't you just give yourself permission? Because we're working on your stress. Stress is a number one killer amongst many, especially women. So, what I need you to do is give yourself permission. And what I want you to do every day is say, I give myself permission to take 5 to 10 minutes every day to be to find opportunities to be mindful. Now you're probably saying to yourself, why did you have to tell her that? Because there are so many areas in our lives that sometimes we need to just stop and we wonder why we're not getting what we want, why things are not working, because sometimes we have not given ourselves permission to do it. Believe it or not, some people need to give themselves permission to be successful. They have so much fear around success. They have fear of failure, fear of not living up to the expectations, fear of being successful. So it stops them from doing anything. And sometimes, in order to get unstuck out of that fear, they just have to give themselves permission to be and do. You have permission. Guess what? You truly have permission to be happy, to be successful. And that permission doesn't come from the world, it comes from you, from within. You have to tell yourself that you have to walk in your power. I talk a lot about walking in your power. Part of your power is knowing how to get consent to and to authorize over your own self the things that you want for your life. And how you consent and give that authorization is through permission. If you want, you can write yourself a permission slip and write it down. We used to have to get permission slips to go on trips that says that I give my child permission to go on this field trip and see whatever they're going to do. Sometimes you might have to write a permission slip to yourself. I give myself permission to be happy, to be successful, to show up as my true and authentic self. There's power in permission. There's power in having authority over who you are. Because that's what permission really is. It's saying that you are taking 100% authority for yourself. And I talk a lot about that. If you follow me, if you listen to anything, any subjects that I talk about, I always talk about we have to take 100% responsibilities for who we are, who we want to become, and how we show up in this world. And when you take 100% responsibility, there's no one to blame for when things don't work out the way you do. You have total responsibilities because you have now taken that responsibility out of somebody else's hands or just leaving it there to hope that it might just happen. So I'm gonna come back. We're gonna take a quick um commercial break because I like to show my sponsor who comes in. Our sponsor, Tea Lovers Cafe. We love them. That's where we get um, all of our tea from. Because yes, I am a tea connoisseur. So Tea Lovers Cafe is the sponsor of Tea Talks. So if you are a tea lover, I definitely ask you to go to Tea Lovers Cafe. They have some good premium loose leaf tea. You would love it. It tastes good, hot and cold. Yes, I'm doing a commercial before even showing the commercial. Okay, we are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. And I want to talk about a couple of things that where we need to really focus on giving ourselves permission. I first want to say we need to give ourselves permission to show up as our true authentic selves. I talked a lot about that first, but it's okay. You can show up who you truly are. You need to give yourself permission to let go of perfection. There is no perfect nothing, okay? And we strive so much to be perfect where we don't allow room for failure. And failure teaches us a lesson. So you have to give yourself, believe it or not, permission to fail. Failure is a good teacher. It teaches us what to do and what not to do. There are a lot of lessons learned in failure, but you have to be willing to give yourself permission to fail. No, you don't go out here with the intentions on failing, but if you should fail, it's okay. And you don't have to beat yourself up about why it didn't go right and why the business didn't stay the way you did or why the relationship didn't work or whatever it is that you were striving to achieve. Because when you give yourself permission, that means there can be some missteps along the way and it provides opportunities for you to learn. Yes, opportunities for you to learn. So, yes, we're going to give ourselves permission to show up and be our authentic selves. We're going to give ourselves permission not to be perfect. And we're going to give ourselves permission to fail. We're going to give ourselves permission to be happy. You're going to define what happiness means to you, and then you're going to give yourself permission to be just that, to do whatever it takes to find that type of happiness. But you deserve to be happy. No situation should dictate your happiness, take away your joy, and keep you always sad. Some of the reasons why people are walking around here doomed and gloom and talking about their circumstances and this situation happened and whoa, why it's me? And there's always I can't get out of this funk and I can't get out of it. The reason why they can't get out is because they don't make the choice to get out. And see, when you make the choice, because I'm going to talk about, we're going to have a whole show on the power of choice. But when you make a choice and decide that that's the place you don't want to be, you make the choice, then you give yourself permission to walk in that place that you want to be. So you don't have to be sad. That's a choice. And you can give yourself permission to be the opposite of sad. You can give yourself permission to be happy. You can give yourself permission to be joy. This is one of the things I deal with clients all the time when they have had so many failed relationships. But I'm not even going to talk about my clients. I'm going to talk about me for a moment. I've had two marriages that ended in divorce. I used to say I had two failed marriages. I don't say that anymore. But I've had two marriages that end in divorce. And in the last one, it hit me kind of hard for a multitude of reasons. And for a minute, I was starting to think, am I not lovable? But then, and I said for a minute, I realized that I am lovable and I was created out of love and I was created to be loved. And I'm not even saying the two people that I married did not love me. These were just relationships that did not sustain itself. But when you have relationships that don't work, it does make you question. And it oftentimes causes some to give up on love, to give up in having a happy, healthy relationship. I believe words have power. So I said to myself, I am lovable. And if anybody knows my story, I did a vision board and it talked about how I was going to come out not being bitter, but being better. And one of the things that I did give myself permission to do is to be open to love again. Matter of fact, I'm open to being married a third time. I'm giving myself permission to be open and welcoming to someone who God has for me, who can come and have a good, healthy relationship with me, a relationship that will sustain. But I have to be open to it. But I also had to give myself permission to not let my heart be bitter and to be open to a relationship. So we have to give ourselves permission sometimes to love again. Yes, we got to give ourselves permission to love again. Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to love ourselves and to love ourselves unconditionally. That's what will allow you to show up as your authentic self and give yourself permission to do that. A lot of us have been through life. Life has lifed everybody. All of us have been through something. All of us have a story that we can tell. And some of it has good parts and some of it have some, there's some chapters that are very interesting. And those interesting chapters really can dictate which direction your life go in. And sometimes you can feel not lovable or not love yourself based on some of the circumstances and the things that you have gone on in life. Mama might have left you, daddy might have left you, might not have loved you the way you was. And it can put you in a certain place. It really just can. But you have to love you. You have to give yourself permission to love yourself regardless of what you've been through or what anybody has done to you. Forgiveness is powerful. We'll do another tea talk on the power of forgiveness. I think we might even done one. But I'm here to tell you that there's plenty of people out here who don't love themselves and need to give themselves permission to love themselves. You don't need anybody to approve you and tell you that, yeah, you went through these and it's okay. It's part of life. We all come to a crossroad, and everybody crossroads are different. We all have a cross to bear, and all our crosses are different. I don't need anybody's approval to validate who I am. I don't. I deserve to be loved, and I give myself permission to love me and to love me unconditionally with all the scars and everything. And I know y'all probably saying these are such, you know, you might think these are small things, but these are big things. When you don't give yourself permission to be happy, you don't be happy. When you don't give yourself permission to be successful, you don't be successful. When you don't give yourself permission to love you, you don't love you. And then you sit around waiting for somebody to tell you that these things, oh, it's okay that you went through all these things in life. It's okay to be loved. You don't need anybody to stamp or prove anything for you. You have the power and the authority to stamp and approve yourself as whatever it is you need. Validated. Permission granted. You can do this. Permission granted. You got this. You don't need anybody to do that for you. You are the author of your life or the co-author because you're writing this story in conjunction with your higher being. I'm writing my story with God. We co-writers in the life of Tawawn. I believe what he says about me, but I know life has also lifed me, and I've had some situations and some circumstances that have given me some stinking thinking and made me believe that I needed validation or approval or permission from people to be. And I don't need anybody's permission to be because I was created to be. And I was created to be the best version of myself. And getting to the best version of me and getting to the best version of you. And I'm going to lean into this. Starts with you. It starts with you giving yourself permission to be 100% responsible for you so you can show up as your authentic self so the world can see exactly who you are in your happiness, in your failures, and all the other things that you need to give yourself permission with. Give yourself permission to rest. We all need to rest. Give yourself permission to play. We all need entertainment and excitement in our lives. We're getting to the end, to the close of Tea Talk for the day. And I have just given some very general information when it comes to the power of permission. We're going to be talking about it a little bit more on next week. But I want you to understand that permission is an opportunity for growth. When you give yourself permission, you open yourself up to newness. Permission is like having a growth mindset. It allows you to see the possibilities and be open to the possibilities. It does not keep you stuck or fixed. So if you really want to be your best self and create your best life, give yourself permission to do that. I want you to say today, I want you to journal. I want you to think about all the things that you want to do, but you have been hesitant, scared to do, fearful to do. And I want you to write them down. Then I want you to write another list. Where do you need to give yourself a permission slip at? Where are the places in your life you need to give yourself permission? Now, I talked about being tired because you know a lot of us will be sick and continue to keep moving. Not giving our bodies the rest, the mental and the physical rest that it needs. We just keep pushing and being sick until we get too sick and then we get forced down. Some of us just need to give ourselves permission to rest. And I'm using that because that's such a small example, but it's a big example that has such major consequences when you don't give yourself permission in that area, in that space of your life. So I want you to think about permission and what that means to you. And you have an authority and the power to give yourself consent to be and do the things that are important that will grow you, mature you, help you learn, and be the best version of yourself. And I want you to give yourself permission. I want you to drop, if you are watching this, share this with somebody because we all know somebody who needs to give themselves permission or something. Some of us even need to give ourselves permission to get out of toxic relationships. But I'm going to talk about that on the next Tea Talk. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope that you were able to glean something from this. There is power in permission. You have the power and the authority over yourself to consent to your happiness, to your success, to being the best version of who you want to be and creating the most amazing life you want. It starts with a choice, and then the next part is giving yourself permission to walk in it. So don't be scared to give yourself permission. Don't be scared to give yourself permission. I want to thank you for joining me. I want you to share this. If you've gotten anything out of this, please share this with your friends, with your family. Make sure that you subscribe and that you follow me and come in and stay tuned next week because we're going to talk a little bit more because there's some other areas that we need to give ourselves permission for. And I want to explore as many of them as possible because, again, I'm about everybody having a little TLC. Yes, tender love and care, but that transformational lifestyle content that will help you with becoming your best self and creating your best life. And as we end tomorrow, I want you to think about one place or one thing or one area in your life that you can give yourself permission. Even if you're one of the people who work through lunch, give yourself permission to stop and have the lunch. And while you're having lunch, I want you to be mindful in that moment and enjoy. Until next time.